Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Just so you have those daily expected moves, first off, we like to list those off in the beginning most of the time. 582.79 to the upside. We do have 573.19. We have a bunch of implied volatility, so it makes sense we're seeing a big move right out the gate. For the Qs, you have an even bigger move. That'd be 494.55 to the upside and 482.17 to the downside. So key thing today is going to be, well, the Qs are reacting above the level that I really would like to see hold as resistance. And if we can hold above there throughout the day, maybe we're able to turn up a 2-hour chart. For the SPY actually going directly to where resistance might pop up, which is in our little zone, but the top of that zone. So we'll see if the SPY can take this over time. And the big signal today is if we're going to head higher, that 2-hour might have to cross over the next couple of days. So that's what we're going to be paying attention to. Even if we do move in that 2-hour a little bit higher, watch out if it's some kind of trap. We make another point of divergence here. That's what we're going to be paying attention to today. Tesla, kaboom. There you go, Tesla. No, we posted to Patreon talking about Tesla just a little bit, saying a lot of people out there saying Tesla has to save the market here. Tesla did make some kind of signal, but it didn't necessarily confirm here. It confirmed and then unconfirmed. But for the most part, looking like some good stuff going on there for Tesla. Big, massive move there. 243. I believe that might even be the... Oh, wait, I have it up here. Let's see. That is above your weekly expected move now, but it is experiencing something crazy. Earnings can take you outside of those ranges, so we shouldn't expect it to have to fall back down. That would be kind of just a fade of the move. We more so want to see structure outside that area. You are taking back the 5 very vigorously here, so see if it can maybe use the topside weekly expected move as some support there. Let me pull up my other chart so I can look at another thing at the same time. Real quick. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, you're outside of that move. Okay, perfect. Is that? Oh, well. Let me pull these up too. All right. So for the most part, as well as seeing the SPY and Qs hit resistance, the important thing is actually going to be, I think, DIA, right? The Dow. And it's going to be, and I don't want to know an hourly, I want to know 30-minute. But it's going to be the Dow, and it's going to be most likely IWM to give us a hint. As these things are experiencing something crazy, it's very obvious what they have to do to build back. You do have some divergence down here for IWM, very flat, I would say, a little bit up there for the RSI, but you do have those points of divergence. If those are going to tune up a 2-hour, well, then we can't get rejected at our weekly expected move. You can see we gapped below that level when we kind of formed at that level. Ooh, big move. So we can say this level here is important. So are we going to react up to there again and get rejected? That's going to be something that we have to pay attention to this morning. Mainly just seeing if those 2 hours can cross up, but for now, the daily is crossed down. 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 Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of things are crossing down. One thing I was playing with was looking at the futures here. Really like the structure of the wedge on the futures, actually. I really like this. You get 3 touches here. You get 2 pretty solid ones there. And it looks like we could end up going a little bit higher, but we'll see if that's able to happen. What that's going to look like in the futures is a little 4-hour push, something like this, and then we'll see what happens. So very, very good wedge on the US 100, just so you're aware. Looks very good there. So we can compare that a little bit. The Q's not showing it as good, I would say, but I just really like it probably because it just doesn't have as many lines on my chart. But I'm sure if we drew it like this, it would probably look kind of similar. It comes up a little bit. So for the most part, 2-hour curls up, good things can happen. 30-minute kind of doesn't really get a good move here, turns back down today. That's what we're really going to pay attention to. We're actually seeing it fade down back into that area. So watch out above the pink line was the big thing. Pink line, bad things do tend to happen above this pink line. So just be very cautious in this area. This is as high up as the options market priced in the Qs to go in all of 2024. So landing below that by the end of the year would make total sense, because this down here is our 68% zone, part of it, right? This is 32%, so we'll see if we can make one more move. Watch out for 2-hour divergence. Apple, still coming down as of right now. Amazon trying to get some kind of bounce. Tesla obviously doing that. Right here is going to be important as well. Nvidia, it does have the opportunity, if it can take back this 5 and curl up. The last time we curled up is a little bit deeper and we still took out this high. So now that you're a little closer to the center line, that might happen again. So we have to pay attention if that positivity does come. But if we don't get a 2-hour to rotate back up fully, then we can't really say it's going to be an extended move. Okay, so we'll look for that today from Nvidia. AMD actually showing some reversal signals down here. Especially, I would say, the near price action, you're seeing the flatness, but you're seeing it slightly up on the MAC or on the RSI down there, starting to curl up. So we'll see if that can curl up a 2-hour chart. Pulling up a 2-hour, looks like we're crossing up right away in the morning. We got 2 hours for that to post. So let's go back over to the SPY. Look as we are opening up right at 580. So that is the beginning of the zone. Do you see how the closing of the bar right there kind of completes right there? That's exactly where we open up. We got to see if we can build this thing up throughout the day, or else that daily chart is going to take over and bad things can happen. Just a note here, volatility still holding above the 5. That's something big there. If that 30-minute can cross up, you might see a pretty good move. Once again, just mainly paying attention to, can the daily scale turn up for volatility? That's going to be a massive deal. Dollar is dropping off. It is still above the 5 at this moment, but the dollar is dropping off right now. And TLT might be seeing that bounce we were talking about. So maybe I didn't explain this the best in the video last night if you watched to the end, but one thing we were explaining was the fact that there was this correlation between, you would say, TLT and the SPY, or maybe some people probably pointed it out as the 10-year yield in the SPY, but sometimes those are separating. So sometimes TLT is separating, making a move before the SPY does. You can notice TLT heading down at this point for a while, okay? So the fact that it's been heading down for a while, normally, right, we see a little bit of a difference and then the SPY catches up. So I do believe if we have the pullback scenario, then this is going to be the catalyst, okay? I do think that the 10-year is going to turn back down here, right? We have some divergence at the high. We have rejection divergence all at this high. We have 4-hour charts that are looking like divergence has popped up, which means dailies can start to cross back down. Which would mean TLT, maybe people run to that because it's an easy investment, right? At this level, you can get a 4.22% rate or something like that to get into those, and people will see those as very valuable. So maybe they reallocate some of their funds from the market into that, and that can be a little bit of a snap because this has moved dramatically to the upside. Well, that can cause people to kind of make this push down by buying into it, and they might have to take money out of the stock market to do that. Right away in the morning, we are seeing the 30-minute once again for volatility. I know I'm jumping around on topics here, but you're seeing volatility kind of spike there. Look at that spike in volatility. Be a little bit cautious, guys. But we'll see. Can the craziness continue? Can the daily crossover cause us to go into some bad things? And I think that is definitely possible. Just keeping our eye on TLT as well. Dow Jones ending up going negative early on today. IWM is actually trying to get a bounce, but it has to get above this level. We'll see if there's a little micro cup and handle here, but if not, that can just head to the downside. Google, it was Microsoft had the good move outside of the weekly expected move and came back down within it, looking a little bit flaggy here. We'll see if that can continue, but if we see something like this, Microsoft does this, then we would actually have a solid reversal signal here for Microsoft outside of a weekly expected move. It is going into Friday, so you have to be a little cautious with it if that would happen. But for the most part, that's what I'd be looking for from Microsoft. I just said volatility saw a spike there, didn't it? It's about to curl up on a 30-minute. Right away. My goodness. You want to see that spike? Look at that. It's about to curl up already. It looked like it was going to take some time. That looks like it wants to curl up. Is the dollar seeing support from the 5? That's going to be a big deal today as well. But volatility trying to turn up there. SPY kind of giving it up for a moment. Keep our eye on that. Tesla up to 246.50 now. Very good move. Something you were holding forever finally saw a break. We'd like to hear that. I never trust pre-market for trends. I'm more trusting it as far as testing a key level, right? Testing a key level is right here, right? That little, if we made a zone within a zone, you would probably take this little part where we gapped up to, then you take this little part right here, then you kind of just pull that across and look where you're at. So you are testing a very, very key level. Wow, I just made huge profit on my Tesla calls. Congratulations, Robert. Congratulations. The risk to reward might have been there for that one. I thought about doing it yesterday. Now I wish I did. I think I could have. The option I was going to take, that's worth let's see, 9 times what it was worth yesterday. Because I was just going to do some YOLO play, you know what I mean? But congratulations, that is pretty cool. Remember, you know, earnings is always like a 50-50 flip. And you're already outside of the crazy zone for now. Looks like Nvidia could rip. Nvidia could rip. If you get this 30-minute to curl up, you could rip for a second. The only problem is if you see these moves, you're seeing Microsoft do it maybe at the same time here as Nvidia as well. You're seeing a time where this 30-minute can cross up. And if it did and we made a new high, that would take you outside of a weekly expected move. So this is a stronger reversal signal than even right here. We were kind of leaning, right? I was kind of like, hey, I think we're going to get that 2-hour push higher in the market, but we'll see if that's able to happen. If Nvidia makes a reversal signal and starts to head down again, that's going to be more trap-like than before. But the dollar is coming down. Looks like people might like this a little bit at that price. Yeah, and Tesla does have some, you're right to bring it up, Wigglefish. The Tesla does have, like, out of regular stocks, we're not going to talk about AMC or GME, but out of the regular stocks, Tesla has like the highest implied volatility every single week. Every single week it's got something. Every single week it's got like 70 to 100% implied volatility, which is just kind of nuts. And this is an earnings week, and it has like 80-something%, I think. So you are at a crazy level. 247 is way outside of the weekly expected move at this point. So you see how some news can cause crazier things to happen. This is taking the options market off guard in some way. That's going to curl up. Obviously, we're going to see that 2 hours spike up. Now we got to see, is the daily going to spike up here? Because that's what we need to pay attention to. This could be a really deep handle at this point. And if Tesla keeps up the positivity and crosses up, it could break this high. And if it breaks that, doesn't make some kind of reversal signal in some way, we don't see weakness, we actually could see a measured out move, very, very big measured out move to the upside. So we'll see if that's going to come to fruition. I think the more important thing is just looking at the state of these indices and seeing how they're testing these key levels, right? Testing a key level, testing a key level. Even the DIA, if that can make a rebound in some way, but it is not turning back around. One thing that did turn back around, home builders trying to see some kind of bounce. Gold trying to see that bounce, right? One more time maybe. If that falls short there, you might have a little bit of structure. Oh, well, I guess it's up there now. Apple, I did think this was interesting. We did kind of leave behind an island, not like fully, but we did kind of leave behind that island. We were talking about a little bit of island reversal actually with this, saying, hey, this is kind of up on a ledge. Let's see if that can fall. Did happen, and now the 2 hour is confirming down. So we got to see if dailies can roll over. If not, we can see another breakout to the upside. But that daily is very, very close to crossing. So if we do not experience positivity today, You know, it might mean things hold up for options expiration. That does happen a lot of the time, but the selling can start a little bit heavier next week, maybe. If we see, like, the only catalyst I could really see is the difference in the correlation with yields and the SPY. So if we're taking that into consideration, we would more so lean towards a pullback if that's the catalyst. You're looking for something a little bit more drastic to happen, like a housing collapse in some way, some kind of thing to happen that causes people to hit the sell button out of more panic than just rebalancing towards bonds or something like that. But we are seeing volatility start to spike up just a little bit. See if that can hold. Not holding as of right now. Kind of getting this little wick here. Now, the volatility spiked there. That is a spike at a potential double bottom here for VVIX. That's going to be pretty important. One thing I used to pay attention to was the volatility of bonds, which is this guy. See how it's marked off? So bond volatility, a lot of the time, I think I changed this to a line chart. Just seeing more on the daily scale where that is sitting. We're starting to see that bond volatility start to spike up a little bit there. So you can find times where, like, the last time you saw a spike up was Friday, July 12th? And maybe you could look at how the market was reacting. You can see that on July 12th, it started to spike up. What happened shortly after July 12th? A corrective move. And so I think that's more what you're leaning towards in this type of scenario, is that corrective move. But you notice that when move sees those spikes, the last time we saw a spike, we saw downside for the SPY. And that's the point. The point is the SPY is getting uncorrelated, right? Negatively correlated right now. And if you wanted an example, it would just be, you know, from this point right here, if we started to do this with TLT, and the SPY did that. So now we're saying that could catch up and then maybe base out to then head higher, just like over here, as that move index is popping up a little bit. I don't read into move enough, you know. I'm not like a strictly bond trader or something, so I don't pay attention to it all the time. But it's good to know that that is there. Palantir with a solid move. Look at the 30-minute trying to curl up there. Still looking. The 2-hour looked like it wanted to make that next move higher, didn't it? And then when you kind of saw the flag-like behavior and you kind of break that for a moment, well, we're taking it right back. So now it's still leaning, I believe, I would say, you know, towards that 2-hour divergence scenario where you do see a pop up. Maybe you hit a weekly expected move and you see something bad before the weekend. Once again, pay attention after options expiration this week. Just something I've noticed a lot of the time is when you do see something bad about to happen, if it happens in the middle of the week, sometimes things hold up better and then something happens, you know, as far as people making a decision towards the end of the week once their options do close. It doesn't have to happen, but for the most part, that's something to pay attention to. At the time being, though, we do have the Dow Jones just continuing to head a little bit lower. See if we can take out that low. Maybe we make a little 15-minute divergence or something like that. I'm liking this because it's outside of those moves. Bitcoin solid move. I heard that Tesla announced they did not sell any Bitcoin at all. I believe they haven't sold any Bitcoin, and that was not able to cross over yesterday. Maybe because of that news. For the most part, 2-hour trying to curl up into positive territory, trying to take back the 5 at this moment. Let's keep our eye on this. Notice we gravitate towards that annual expected move, which is right in our little zone. I think we went like a little bit higher than the first resistance we'd really run into. So this is going to be important. Can we hold this and can we turn up the 2-hour? That's going to be the big deal here. In order to turn up a 2-hour, you're going to have to turn up a 30-minute. It hasn't even crossed yet, but it is not oversold anymore. And volatility options are kind of still spiking here. Looks like a lot of people positioning for some volatility is what that would say. Just some demand for those options. Yeah, Palantir, I mean, I really thought Palantir was going to make the 2-hour move up, and then I saw that flagging, and I go, you got to be aware if that goes down. And then now it looks like it wants to curl up again, so it's just a little bit of a confusing one, and that flagging had a ton of wicks in it, very strange. So I'm staying away from that one, but you could see a simple signal if you're just patient, you see like a nice 2-hour divergence outside of a zone, it could be there for you. Tesla approaching 249, just crossed it. Just crossed it. That is crazy. I mean, shit, that was some good ass news. What the hell? Cool things that have happened this week. We've gotten a touch of the weekly expected move. Fantastic. And we immediately see support. So that's why these levels are great. That's why these levels are great to pay attention to. You can notice that the SPY went below it, but if you look at the daily bar, it wicked up, right? We wicked back above it by the end of the day, and we held with a wick inside of our trend here. Very, very cool. Now that is starting to fade quickly, so we want to go see if volatility is able to turn up on a 30-minute. Apple red today. Yes, Apple is showing a little bit more weakness. We'll still see if this can get some kind of bounce, but the daily crossing is something to pay attention to today. Remember, once Apple and Nvidia do cross on the daily, I won't be taking any upside plays until I see some great structure for us to head higher. And hopefully Nvidia gives us the same freaking trade, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Nvidia's given it to us 3 times, now 4 if this plays out fully, right? It's confirmed. It just hasn't fully played out, I would say, at this point. But if that fully plays out, then we've gotten 4 solid position-style trades, right? That course for $100 can really help you out in finding those. But if it proves this signal again, we have 1, 2, and 3 that all worked out. So I really like it so far. I hope that this happens and it pulls down, because that would be 4 for 4. And then if something crazy happens next month and we see it again, I would love that. I would love that. I love it. Two-hour has crossed. 30-minute has to cross up here for Nvidia to head higher. Yeah, and Apple's a good one too, right? Apple's a great one. The last great trade from Apple was right before the earnings. This was a golden setup. You had down here, you had daily divergence, you had divergence on multiple time frames, right? The golden setup is what we give out on the course down in the description. It pretty much will teach you how to find fantastic trades like this one. And Apple sets up golden setups all the time. And in fact, Apple's making a kind of golden setup right here, if I really think about it. It's way wonkier. You'll see a lot wonkier ones at the top, but you do have multiple divergences on multiple time frames, which is fantastic. You had that down here. That was the great play that we found for Apple. Now, we did discuss these moments as well. This moment right here, we were like, this on the weekly scale looks awful for Apple. Then that signal was able to turn it back up. So we were bearish here. We were bullish here. We were bearish now here. The great part about Apple was it sets up stuff all the time. Okay, you notice right here, triple divergence, right? Triple divergence. This was another golden setup play that ended up being a massive run. So that was a fantastic one. We actually used Apple back in October to call the bottom in this downward move for the market, which was fantastic. So you see how you can pay attention to daily scales, take positions further out, and it would still work, right? Mainly the shorter time frames is like trying to get a better or get a really good position. But if you just use this for even investing, you just wait to see some kind of like divergence and then just be like, all right, I'm going to hold that bad boy, see if a monthly turns up. Really good plays to be had. I'm trying to think of another one. I don't think it was Meta. Maybe it was Amazon. Is this October? Yeah, that's the October move. So right here you had it as well. I remember us being a little bit more hesitant with Amazon just because it was pretty flat for the RSI, but ended up being a great move. So that's pretty great. And when you see it at the same time as Apple, you can be like, all right, well, if Apple's going to see major positivity, maybe Amazon does. So it was just, you know, we can pay attention to the right things, and that's all you can really do. And then you take the play, you manage your trade, and you sit there and you go, okay, good, I made a good decision. That's pretty much all you're doing, right? We're not going to be like, oh, we know exactly where the market is going every single day, because that's just impossible. Anyone who tells you they can do that, it's very improbable that they are that good. If they were that good, they probably wouldn't be telling everyone, right? I'm a believer in the slow way is the fast way. So anytime you see me take a trade, just know I am managing risk. But thanks for pointing that out, BK, because those are the signals that we're maybe going to see if this thing turns down. We might see a daily divergence, and we need to pay attention to that. So I think that's cool. SPY not liking it right now. We'll see if that's able to hold up. You are hitting a level that could be interesting. As far as it goes, you have this little shelf right here. I wonder if that can turn back up. The 5-minute went positive. You have a trade idea? You want my opinion on it? Good morning, Doug TV. How's it going? Rocket ship for Tesla right now, that's for sure. My goodness. VVEX dropping to 0 there. Very interesting. But thank you so much for the $5. What's the trade idea? I'm very intrigued now. Very intrigued. TLT actually flipping back down. Gotta watch if that thing crosses down on a 30-minute. If we keep this difference, that's gonna be a little bit more worrisome, I think, for the SPY if we keep having those yields rise. Made 160%. Congratulations on the Tesla wins, guys. Good job. Good job. I think you could say risk to reward is there enough with a correct position size, a very manageable position size. I think it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. Now, that would be for calls. For puts, I mean, I don't think that was necessarily like the most probable thing. But it could have happened. That's the thing. It's freaking what? It's earnings. Anything can happen. Well, it's kind of rough. It's hard to make those kinds of decisions because what you're talking about is trying to like do a huge scalp, and that can easily happen, right? You know, Tesla has implied volatility, but just be cautious because this is a massive move. If this holds, you might get a daily turn up here very soon. So I would not want to be on the losing end of that. I like to stay away and let stocks do their thing during earnings. Just join. What's the T? Tesla seeing a massive move. Everything is touching pretty much, well, the SPY and the Qs at least are touching the key areas. Even a little bit above it for the Qs, but the SPY pretty much opening right at the first part of that key area, which is pretty much here. You see that right there? That's where you really want to pay attention. We have a zone as a just in case, just to pull it down a little bit because we did get some wicks in here and consolidation. But the T would be, can this 30-minute go higher, and is that going to be able to turn up the 2 hours? So if the 2 hour is able to turn up, good things can happen. Just a quick note, since you asked for the T, well, the Dow is not even getting close to testing. The IWM is closer to testing and is getting that test right now. So you got to see if that can be some small cup and handle to go back in the zone, because you do have divergences down here, right? You have divergences down there. I'd say slightly up. I don't think it's like the best divergence in the world, but it's there. Slightly up for the RSI. We've seen worse ones play out. Slightly there for the RSI, flat on the MACD, if not a little tiny bit down. So this is important, seeing if IWM can reject here with some steam, because IWM and the Dow, the reason that we're paying attention to that is because they're both outside of weekly expected moves. They are both outside of weekly expected moves. So we just got a daily crossover on IWM and the Dow and the SPY and the Qs, but the Dow and IWM did it outside of an expected move for the week. And that is where things can get a little crazy. So that's what we're paying attention to. If you don't want the market to fall down dramatically, well, then you're really hoping that this 68% zone, you can get back in there by Friday. Instead of trading companies that can go out of business, what if I just trade only the VIX? The VIX is going to fluctuate from 8 to 25 every so often during the years. It'll go to 0. Yes, well, you can make a lot of money if you know how to trade the VIX. The VIX has been like some of my best trades ever. Right, I've traded Apple the most for those little 50%, 100%, 120% gains during bear markets. But the real play is if you can really get a handle on volatility, pay attention to those times where they're happening, those signals are at the same time for the SPY and the Qs, and you're in a bear market where volatility is above 20, you can, go from making 100% on one thing. If you do something like UVXY and you know how to do it, right, you can make like 200% per play, maybe more. Made 8,600 on Tesla earnings, just jumped out. Congratulations, Pitching Academy. But it does take some time. So if I was, and you're going to get a bunch of setups with volatility. If we see that keep staying how it is, you should get a bunch of setups with volatility. So something you could do in the meantime is do a little bit of paper trading with it, like even right now to practice. Right? See if the signal's at the same time as the SPY. Look, the 30 minutes going to curl up. Okay, awesome. Is volatility going to remain curled down, right? Is this going to curl down on a 2-hour? If that curls down on a 2-hour, how would I react? What do I want to do? Does that mean the SPY is going to curl up on its 2-hour? It kind of can, right? It can mean that. So you have to take all that into consideration while trading volatility. IWM was doing something good. That's why I was kind of watching it, seeing if that 2-hour can cross up. And you see how we could go up, maybe going up into even next week and then curl back down. So we'll see if that's going to show up, because that would create some form of divergence again, right? You kind of have it here. You kind of even have it here. You have it pretty much flat all the way across, a little bit down at the end there. So if you want to make a significant one, maybe now's the time to make some kind of move like this. And that could be a great setup for IWM to actually see a bigger downfall, but it has crossed over on the daily. So that just tells me, hey, be cautious with any upside moves. Volatility starting to turn back down. See if that 2-hour can cross down. We got ourselves a little thing going on to the upside. If this 30-minute can cross up and then get some steam behind it, then the SPY might be rejecting and we might continue the downside, which would be worrisome for IWM. So this thing building back is a good thing right now. Ooh, and the 5's right above you. Look for those tests of the 5. You'll notice that we came very far away from it. The SPY ended the day yesterday pretty much at this level of 583.16. That is starting to come down. See if we can get a test of that. Qs, see if we can get a test of that. Notice it's right in that area. You have to take that back. And then volatility is right above its 5-day. So that's why we kind of have it up on the charts here. Volatility options just spiked a little bit. I think people are, I think that is just the demand is increasing a little bit there as people are reacting. So something we can pay attention to is the PCC. So if volatility options are going up a little bit, well, we're actually noticing more people towards the call side. We want to see that get down a little bit lower, right? We want that to get a little bit lower, and the dollar has to turn around here. But we're in our zone. Are we going to, what did I put as the title? Are we going to reject, or are we going to see the SPY hit 600? I think that's what's kind of on the table. Now that would violate a lot of our structure, but we'll see. Tesla on the monthly, like I'm saying, Tesla on the monthly still looking okay, right? Tesla last month said, hey, this is a good investment. Now you're seeing some structure that can make it go higher, right? Oh, it's on the daily scale. You're seeing structure that how it would head higher. It's still there. This is just a very deep handle, which is probably why you're getting this snap reaction with the earnings, right? This took people off guard. Then the earnings come out, snap reaction. It kind of makes sense But if you can take out these levels, you just have to watch out for a divergence here for weakness. If that doesn't pop up, Tesla could be a good investment for, say, 12 months if that monthly scale's turned up. It's kind of like, it's kind of weird to me, but you would say that. You would say that, right? That's what your MACD is telling you. You just have to know that if that daily makes a divergence, then that might be a fake out. I wonder if we get an inside bar. Any thoughts on GME? Still waiting for that to turn up on a daily scale, right? That turns up on the, you see how tight it's getting? I even said in a video, I think it was maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, I really think we're gonna see a reaction in some way, right? I'm very vague with it, but I know the market can go in either direction. I just know that this is getting really, really tight, really, really tight, really, really tight. And if that would cross up, hey, you're breaking through, you might be breaking through the key level to see something crazy. You're confirming a bunch of little divergences, right? You have one here, now you're trying to carve out that lower high. I don't hate the look by any means. I just want to see this 2 hour turn up. If this 2 hour turns up, I think it's got a great shot to see something crazy. But we haven't seen that yet. If that 2 hour turns up, then the daily turns up. I think you got a good shot to see some kind of move. Is that just going to be, oh, big move? I got, taken down by the short sellers. Or is that going to be the moment? That's something we have to watch. And if this is going to pop off, you would expect weakness for Nvidia, which you're kind of seeing that at the same time. So not only are you seeing okay signals at a low for GameStop, but you're also seeing that the collateral for that is Nvidia, and you're seeing reversal signals that we've used and they've worked out a lot of the time. So that's why it's probably a good time to pay attention to those kinds of things, but you got to see those signals proven. Oh, cool. Might take a look at that. I can't tell you that. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just trying to teach you about signals. And for now, Nvidia is showing and confirmed already 2 hour divergence. All right, so the likelihood of crossing over a daily by the end of the month is pretty high, ending back in that zone pretty high. That would be below something like 135 by the end of the month. You only got a little bit of time left. And you have this 30-minute that's trying to, right, it made the divergence point. That's why we talked about it. That's why we said you have this divergence on, and you have it on a 30-minute and you have it on the 2 hour at the same time. That's when I really start paying attention. Now it looks like this is trying to build up to a key level. Can this flag out in here, grab some liquidity with a tiny little mini head and shoulders? Can this 30-minute curl up into positive territory, make one more move? Then you would be outside of a weekly move. And then you'd see that signal and say, okay, next week we might see something bad happen. Now, you don't want to treat it like you have to see something bad happen, right? You more want to treat it like, okay, if we get bad news and we have this signal, we can see a big drop. If we don't get bad news and we see that signal, it could just be a minor pullback. But overall, these signals are suggesting that 68% chance to land, I would say somewhere at least around 135 by the end of the month. Does that mean I'm going to take a random play and say that's going to happen now? No. I can scale into a play here. I can scale out of the play here. I can see this move up, and then I can get back in if I want to, right? So I'll just, sorry about that. Ooh, boy scared you guys. I'm sorry about that. I think a dog came up to our window. He was not happy. MSTR. MicroStrategy, seeing the 30-minute curl up. Hey, that's okay. That's a good thing if you think anything about it. It's like, hey, that's good. But just notice that now you're making a divergence point. Now, it's not to say that has to happen. It's just that's where I would react. As of right now, you're just seeing a 30-minute cross up and positivity's coming. So you want to kind of look, is the 2 hour in a good spot to see a move? Because you were making some divergence point. Not really divergence here. So maybe we'll see one soon. Kind of wonky there on the MACD. Let's spread it out to see what we can come up with here. There you go. So 4 hour curling back up is a great thing. Curling back up is a great thing. It means, hey, I got to manage a trade if I was trying to take a downside play here. But we do notice that this is starting to get significant, right? It's more like, remember, it's when it's going like this and they're not at the same time, you can see these pullbacks. And then you get this one. That one's more significant because that's down. And that's down on the MACD at the same time. So if this is some kind of fake out today, just watch out if that flips back around. But for now, it's saying positivity. Is this the best thing, I think, to make a massive move upward? Well, the RSI is still telling me overbought. So what I more wanted to do was, I think the real opportunity was maybe this curl up, right? For a little bit more positivity. Boom, maybe towards a weekly expected move or something like that. But this one might have been an opportunity, right? You see that cross up on this bar and boom. Great little moves, but it's very tight, very tight. And if you do step down, you can stair step your way down because we've had these little pockets. For the most part, more of what I talk about now is like, is this something that I can hold for a long time? Does this have much upside? Well, if I pull up the daily chart and I go, okay, do I really want to get into this as we're making that little divergence on the RSI? We're seeing some reversal signals from something like Nvidia, which says, hey, this could be the top of the market, even if there's one more 2 hour push higher, right? And this is going into earnings. Now, anything can really happen with earnings, so I'm not going to mess with this thing, but I just think that the risk to reward here is very, very steep. Right? It's like, oh, I could go a little bit higher and test that top Bollinger, or I could head all the way down here. That's why Tesla was the other way. Tesla was the risk to reward was the other way, right? The risk was like this from the price action, and then your reward was way up here, and you ended up going towards your reward, going past your reward. So, not saying this has to fall down, play out like Tesla. Just because it's really high up doesn't mean it has to fall. It's positive in positive territory. I'm just saying the signals here aren't the best for a trade setup just yet. You'd want to see if this 2 hour can curl back down. Hasn't curled up yet. But we're just riding the 5. I'd more start to pay attention once we lose that 5 as well and curl over on a daily. We got news. What's the news? Tell me the news. AMD, just some divergence down there, right? But like this one got significant. That's why we mentioned it yesterday. And it can curl up a 2 hour. But I was like, this looks wonky. I said that in the video last night. I was like, this looks kind of wonky. I'm not going to even take this, even though the signal looks okay. And that's all it does. That's all it really looks like. It looks okay. Because if you really look at this, it's maybe flat, if not a little bit down, but it is upward for the RSI. So that could just be some kind of worthless bounce. Nvidia, as of right now, not confirming. So I'm not saying that it's like, hey, any play that you guys see and you think it looks good, and I'm like, hey, yeah, there's divergence there, it looks great, but I'm like, that's a little bit wonky. So I don't take too many wonky plays. I like it to be very obvious. Housing market heating back up as new home sales rebound plus 6.3% year over year. Okay, let's see. Well, I had that news up. Initial jobless claims getting adjusted up to 242K for the previous, coming in at 227 this time. Once again, getting a low number for initial jobless claims. And we always get a low number, then it gets revised higher. That being said, continuing jobless claims coming in at an increase for the previous here again, 1869K, and coming in today at 1897K, coming a little bit above that. New home sales did hit 4.1%. I have plus 4.1% from the previous negative 4.7%. And Fed balance sheet later today, durable goods tomorrow, consumer sentiment tomorrow. And then Jolt's job openings next week could be a big deal. We'll see what happens with that guy. Oh, I have you guys on the 10-year. That's boring. We got to look at the SPY, see if it's rejecting. As of right now, just paying attention on my other charts to IWM. Just wanted to show how we're using that move right now as some resistance. We have to see if we get completely rejected here, because we could end up sitting here for a long time and then consolidating, right? We talked about the fact that, hey, cup and handle could be forming here in some way on the shorter time frames. They're kind of breaking this downward trend in some way. So we'll see what happens with that. But we are using it as resistance at this point. And the Qs are using our little pink line there as some resistance. I think Apple is at a weekly expected move. Let me double check. Yeah, Apple as well is at the weekly expected move right here. It built back into it with this right here. So you built back into that weekly expected move. See if you can get a reaction and maybe retest that 5. Curl up, then curl back down. If you curl up a 2-hour, you might make another move higher. Just try to click through. Tesla is obviously outside of the upside expected move. Amazon is down by its expected move, right? Not touching it, but getting close. It's like right below you. Nvidia trying to curl up on a 30-minute. We'll see if that can last. It looks like it might be consolidating, trying to build liquidity there. We'll see if that turns up on a 30-minute. AMD struggling just a little bit. Meta went down towards a weekly expected move, trying to catch some kind of bounce. Microsoft still outside of the move and very flaggy for Microsoft. Where the heck is my Microsoft? There it is. Very flaggy here, right? Very flaggy in here for Microsoft. You got to see if that buying can really take over. You start to head a little bit more up. Because you want to get rid of that flagging. Google's still sitting pretty much in the middle of the range. Ooh, Netflix trying to catch a bounce. Let me go look at this guy. Netflix setting up another point of divergence. And what's going on with... And the PCC did just drop 2.78. Looking on that. So we do see a time now. Now, the only thing is we don't see the dollar going up at the same time. So even the rigged behavior, it's just saying people are going to the call side, but we don't have the dollar going up while the market goes up. So that's something we normally look for. We're not seeing that right now. You're just seeing the market up and the dollar down. That makes sense at this point. But it seems in order for us to really go higher, I think you need that dollar to come down a little bit more dramatically. We bought room on the Bollinger Band too for the dollar. It slowed down the direction. TLT way outside of a monthly expected move. I think you might see a huge influx to TLT soon. That would be crazy interesting. I'd really be watching if TLT sees a strong move here. See if that's going to be the catalyst. People kind of repositioning into bonds for a moment because they like that that yield. So if that curls up, I'm kind of convinced this could see something. I think it could get back up to like 95. I think it could get back up to 95 over the next month or so. Then you go, what? This thing just really starts to turn around, grab liquidity in some areas. See if it can go higher. IWM, we just want to keep our eye on this, see if we continue to use this as resistance, and if that selling really shows up. Because if we stay controlled here, I think that 2 hours got a good shot to turn up there. Let me click through a couple of things. Volatility trying to subside a little bit. Getting another red bar. You did cross up for volatility on the 30-minute. You did cross up, but now you're seeing some red come in. Maybe this is consolidation. We'll see. But for the most part, we just want to be like, okay, if this is curled up, bad things can happen. We need that to curl back down. to see good things. And then once that does curl down, watch the 2 hour, because if that 2 hour curls down for volatility, we might have bought a full 2 hour move for the SPY. Right now, we just got to see if this stuff gets rejected. It's still pretty early on in the day. And dailies are crossing over. Dailies have already crossed. SPY, Qs, IWM, Dow. So if you look at that bigger picture, you're going, okay, well, on the daily scale, if that remains down, then the price should come down a little bit. All right, Palantir, where's your move? Okay, you got a little higher you can go. Look at HGX gave us a great hint. And HGX is bouncing pretty damn hard right now. 1%. HGX gave us the good hint on the daily scale, crossing down, right? Crossing down, and then giving us that, well, actually, this was cool because, right, we had 4 hours in here too. So you got a little hint on the 4 hour. I think it came on this bar. Ooh, right before, but you lose the 5, you confirm divergence, and we start to head in the downward direction. Now you're getting a snapback. So we'll see this 30-minute getting up by the center line. We'll see if that can really build up, but that could just be a test of the 5. It does have divergence above it as well. So it's liking the new home sales, it seems. Volatility is crossed up, though. That's a problem. Actually, I see a little thing on the housing sector that says the 2 hour could turn up for a moment. Rejection divergence. Interesting. Did Tesla hit 250? It did, 250. God dang, Tesla. that RSI on the 2 hour is just a freaking line. Look at this 2 hour RSI. It's just a straight line because of that move. I've seen, that's probably the best confirmation of some kind of 2 hour divergence I've ever seen. But the unfortunate part is it's so good that we might see a pullback. Amazon trying to do some good stuff here, trying to curl up on that 30-minute. Right, Amazon really needs to test some key levels in here. Let's find that level. I think you're at one right now. You're kind of in this zone within a zone, but I guess our zone makes sense. What do you do when you break through a zone? Well, we could come down, retest into it, and see if we reject. That's what I'd more pay attention to. Because right here's the start. You see these? The wick across, 2 wicks there, another one. So I'm guessing that would be important. See if you take that back or give it up pretty quick. SPY trying to cross up, but it is on a negative bar as of right now. You have about 12 minutes left, right? We don't like cross-ups with negative bars. Ooh, IWM, a little bit more rejection starting to happen here. What's the Dow doing? Dow still going lower. Like maybe you'll get lucky and see this 15. I don't like 15-minute divergence though, man. I got to see it on a 30 to really believe in it. Just such an insane move. Sorry if you hear me humming Hogwarts stuff. We bought that game Hogwarts, and it is a solid amount of fun. Nvidia thoughts. Thoughts are, if this 30-minute crossed up, I thought we could make one more move, make a divergence outside of that weekly expected move, right? Manage the trade, see it as a trap, see if that gives the weakness confirmation. But we're starting to reject here a little bit. I still think we're holding up well enough that this could, on a 5-minute, be a little something in here. And AMD, the weekly expected moves are posted to Patreon. Palantir a couple weeks out. I mean, like, if you're trying to do that, you more want to look at the daily scale and just see, okay, what's going on here? Okay, we have a MACD that recently crossed. We've seen that little pullback. Do we need more of a pullback? Because this has seen such a strong move. I'm not saying this has to be dead in any way, because I'm not really seeing those signals from Palantir. I'm just seeing a flat divergence here, no divergence on the MACD. So if we are getting a 2-hour move, you still want to watch out, because this daily needs to pull back in some way and give better structure than what we have now, right? That looks flaggy. So what I really invite here is us to go retest a level like this, 38.80, or going all the way down to 38.20-ish, and then we see what happens. But anything can happen around earnings, so it's hard to give a 2-week out assessment, right? Because earnings are within that, and you can see anything really with earnings. Sometimes earnings is just a risk to reward play. You see what direction it's going. You see if calls are cheap because it's down at the bottom Bollinger, and you go, okay, cool. But I'm not going to use a bunch of cash behind that because it's risky. And you see people making plenty of money, right? People making 160% in a morning is very, very good. So yeah, Palantir though, what I'd look for is the turning point. And I think that turning point still might be this goes up, hits 46, turns back down, and then that's the real thing to pay attention to there. But you have to see all that proven, and then you have earnings right around the corner. Palantir's been a very popular stock, so I'm not going to bet against any kind of earnings right now. No, thank you. I will stick to what I'm doing. Morning, Frankie. How you doing? That could happen, Loxley. You know, and the reason that still Tesla with this great move could end up falling is just because of the state of the market, the state of Nvidia. And if that affects Tesla, even though Tesla's saying, I'm a decent investment, which is kind of crazy to me. It's like, I guess it would be, if this is going to be a good investment, then I look at it as an investment and then I manage the trade. Maybe I can play little 30-minute divergences because Tesla moves really strong and just, you know, take profit early. That's kind of how I would think about it. But I don't think we've seen clear signals from Tesla. I mean, when's the last time we really saw a clear signal from Tesla that we talked about? Well, it'd be probably at these highs, right? The triple divergence on the 30-minute. That was a big moment. And then in the past, this was our big moment for Tesla right here. That very significant divergence that led to a big move, couple managements of the trade, and then boom to the upside there for the 2 hours. So that was the last really, really good setup down here for Tesla. And then this one was one that was probable, I would say. I don't remember if that was outside of a weekly, a monthly. That's the hard part. Oh, TLA. I'm wondering if Tesla is going to be affected if things turn down, right? If Nvidia keeps turning down, which Nvidia is starting to turn down a little bit. So I want to look at IWM. No, it's not rejecting as bad. PIA still at lower levels, so that's not too bad. But just remember, daily scales are turned down at this moment. So any upward move could be a little bit sketch. I know, Scott. I know you're thinking, I know. I've been in that mindset, man. I've been there where you're just like, God, I want to so bad. God, I want to so bad. I'll tell you what, make yourself feel good. Do you like, you know, if I want to make myself feel good about something and have some fun with it, that's why I have my fun account, right? If I wanted to play earnings, I'd use my fun account. I'd probably just use like $100 and be like, all right, by next week, this is coming down to freaking 225, and then just see if a 15-point move happens, like double that money real quick and be like, sick, I made $100. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to take some massive play. But if I feel like I have to, then I can be like, I can high five myself if it makes money. But that's why I have my fun account. You think a 15-minute will pop up for the SPY before we hit 580 again? So you think this is going to reject here, turn down? There's a big problem with making that divergence, though. And the big problem with that is you're going to break down through some trend here. Okay, you're going to break through this trend. So what you're more saying is, and what I think is more probable is if you do a flash move like that, that 15-minute does come, maybe even takes out the high. Maybe you're right about that, but maybe tries to double top again with the daily here. We'll see. But you would expect the first break to be a bigger one, maybe. Then we go into liquidity and a high, and then we see some kind of reaction. From this reaction, that's where we have to see, are we going to go higher and get to 600? That's more the pathway I see us going. Like, that would make more sense to me, because this would make a little bit less sense, because you're breaking through structure again, and the SPY has continued for the past, what, 2.5 years, just to break through every trend. You can see we're above a macro trend right now. You see that? We're above it right now. We got a retest of it even too. So at this moment, I think it would be, I guess it wouldn't be strange, right? It'd be crazy to me to think it would be different. So if the 2 hour crosses up, maybe I should expect that just to go straight to 600. I just think the better move for the SPY to remain healthy and get a healthier move to 600 would be this, right? And then from that point, 600, everyone's euphoric, and what if we see that? That's kind of something I'm leaning towards at this point, just because the catalyst for us turning down here, I believe, is just if people reallocate towards bonds, right? Reinvest. They kind of say, oh, you know, prices of stocks are high, TLT's cheap, I have that yield that's pretty guaranteed there. Boom, they make a decision. Short-term calls on Target. Let's go look at Target then. Oh, not Tigger. Target. All right, calls here. Let's see. Do you have any kind of signal? You do have a rejection divergence. That's pretty good. Rejection divergence. That's not bad. Sometimes during rejection divergences, I still want to wait till that 2 hours snaps back up. Looks like you're at a key level, so you're at some form of support. You have a rejection divergence, and you have a 2 hour that looks like it wants some kind of reaction at least to go retest the 5, which is around 152. So if I made a range for next week and we see this go up like that, crosses up, maybe that range is right here and we do something like this and I go, okay, good trade. You know what I mean? I wish you luck. You went 152.50. I mean, that makes total sense why you picked that level. Out the money, like why you picked that level makes total sense. The 5 sitting there, the 200 sitting there for this 2 hour. I think that's not bad. Small position. 2K on that. Yeah, it might be a little 50% play there. We'll have to see. Depends on how long out you took the option, but Nvidia starting to dump a little bit here. Oh, okay, so it's not holding. That is starting to not hold up in that area. That micro is going to look bad now. That 5 minutes going to cross a little too much. That 15 minutes going to start to cross soon. Watch out for divergence there, but for the most part, is the daily going to do it? You might need into tomorrow or some major weakness today. Well, you shouldn't be surprised from Nvidia. Nvidia has the topping signals, 30-minute divergence, 2 hour divergence. That's really strong. You have the daily that just crossed for the SPY. You have the daily that crossed for the Qs, and this never confirmed back up yet, right? That still can happen, right? We haven't really lost a key level yet, but this never curled up. So once that curls up, then you would say test the high, go make a new one. And I think we probably would get to the weekly expected move at that point. AMD, see what's going on with that later on. I still want to keep clicking over to IWM, just seeing how that's performing. And the Dow trying to hold up a little bit, getting some wicks. Amazon testing the zone. We'll see if that can reject. XLU starting to flip over as well. Gold was interesting. I thought this might make the next move again. but faded it. Great move, and then just fading that thing. How's Tesla doing? Excuse me. Tesla. Well, buy calls goes down. Just note you're doing it before the signal is telling you to. So you're still making a decision to get in before this 30-minute even crosses up. You're deciding to get in with a 30-minute divergence, a 2-hour divergence there. You're deciding to get in when the market, aka the Qs and the SPY and the Dow and the IWM have all crossed over on daily scales. This is all things we talk about a lot during our videos, why I do not take calls pretty much in a stock. I won't take calls if the daily has crossed down. It's very, very, very rare that I do that because daily momentum is much stronger. This is a 2-hour signal. The likelihood here is lower high. We have structure. We talked about left head, right shoulder in some way. We start to break this, we might go fill a gap. We'll see if we can retest in some way and then see what happens. And it hasn't even fully broken down yet, I would say. It is rejecting from the 5 right now, but all you need is a little 30-minute curl up, get above all these moving averages. They're really close together. Get above all those, and you're probably taking out this high going towards a weekly expected move, maybe even tomorrow. We'll see. But TLT, I think, is the opportunity for a position play. That's what I think. I think TLT might be the good position play one here. If this 2-hour can curl up, I would be pretty confident in saying, hey, TLT probably goes higher, maybe towards 94 or 95 over the next month. That's what it seems like here with this type of signal. And then you see where we would react to. Well, you'd go probably right to this level, right? This is where we had a gap down and a gap into it. This is where that key level is. So we'll see. IWM, well, the thing is the 2 hours isn't curled up yet, and you're forming this. So you should have, really what it means that when the MACD is curling up here is I would have been in this play if I took it, right? I'm not doing this because the daily crossed. Very key to understand. We're going to talk about this, but I do not do this because IWM crossed on the daily scale in crazy area. I'm not going to do that. That's asking for a flush. That's asking for a retest of the 5 and flush. So, but if you had to, this is the moment where I would get into that decision, right? That's the moment where I would say, okay, the MACD is telling me something can happen here. Something did happen, but you know that that resistance is there. So what you're looking for here is, well, if I need to manage a trade, then the 15 minutes is going to cross down. And that means maybe we go do this, right? But that could be worse because the daily's crossed down. So if that 15-minute crosses down, I would not be in a bullish trade at that point. If this is some kind of cup and handle in some way, then most likely it's just going to be a 5-minute handle, right? That 15-minute might not be able to cross down. We could build up to the key level. We kind of dip down for a moment, see if that can cross back up. Then you have a good shot to take back the 5 and curl up the 2-hour. And if I was really being patient with it, I could just say, hey, if that 2-hour curls up, we see a move like this, we get back above all these moving averages right here, and we curl up on the 2-hour, okay. Maybe test the high, go make a new one, right? So is it safe? I would say no trade is ever like 100% safe. There's good plays and bad plays. This looks like a short term, it could be a good one, but myself, I would dictate it as a scarier one because the daily has rolled over here. Oh, DJT, I'm down to look at that for a second, and then I might have to look at some stuff, guys. DJT, 2-hour divergence, watch out. Okay, if this loses the 5, loses the 20, you have 2-hour divergence, meaning you can go through a daily pullback for DJT. And look where you reacted to, the 200. Okay, so you could really back off from here. You could really back off. You could reconnect with the 20 coming up. You could reconnect with that 50 coming up. But it's overall telling you this has a good shot to turn down and then see if that can curl back up into positive territory. A little bit of space between the blue and yellow line there, orange line, whatever you want to call it. So if this 2 hour is able to base out, right, we're able to do something like this and curl up one more time, maybe you make another point of divergence there because those are a little spread out. The daily's not as close to really crossing. Nvidia already confirmed our 2-hour divergence, so we're looking for weakness here if it's going to show up, if the daily scale can cross. But we're open to another 30-minute move higher. See, it's not all lost, Kalani. It's not all lost. Because if this would just go bloop, up, now you're above all the moving averages. You broke through a little bit of resistance, and now you can maybe go up towards a weekly expected move, maybe test this high, go make a new one. But you see how the reward is like this, but this is a 30-minute trade. So this is how I'll say it. Nvidia has a 30-minute trade here. The reward is like this, maybe, right? The reward is that, maybe. Now, if you look at a daily trade and I take a month out and you go, okay, what's the risk to reward if this would cross over? Well, the reward could be all the way back into this zone. So which one's the better play? Well, it probably depends on position size. It probably depends on your timing with it. You know, how many days out to expiration. I don't like taking small days of expiration. So I can sit, I can scale in, I can see another move, I can scale in again if I see weakness, and boom. Heads down and retest 125. Then from that point, if I see a 2-hour divergence, I'll be saying, okay, well, it looks like we're going to bounce from here, right? Do they want the market to crash? Most likely not. Most likely not. But we'll see, because the market itself looks rather toppy. You got to see if a 2-hour can cross up. Now we've seen some 30-minute good stuff for a while. We need this to extend. It'd be interesting to go like that and then fall, grab liquidity up here, but we'll see. Cool. Ooh, today's flying by. IWM trying to hold up in this area. So that's where you're looking for that 5-minute to really see that next move higher. Then you got a chance to keep it going, right? You always want to pay attention to this 15-minute as it's close to the center line. Once you see a bigger 15-minute move, right? This is a decent move, but if you see a bigger move like this that gets you nice and overbought, well, then that can easily be a 15-minute positive trend, and we can use that 5 to continue to go higher for IWM. So that's kind of the thing I'm paying attention to here. 15-minute rolls down, bad. 5-minute actually rolls up. You could see good, but 2-hour rolls up, good. That's the main one. 2-hour rolls up, good. It's just the daily's crossed over, so I'm not fully convinced. I think this will be options tomfoolery. Volatility is trying to hold up, but if that curled down on a 30-minute, you lose the 5. Bad things can happen, right? So the 2-hour, if that curls down, well, good things can happen, I guess, right? Bullishness. Good reaction. We should expect volatility to stay as that 30-minute has crossed up above the 5, running into some resistance here. Didn't fill the gap really. SPY's kind of in the same boat. That 5-minute is far enough up that it still could keep consolidating in here. It's building liquidity for the next move, that's for sure. On the 5-minute, that is. On the 30-minute, you kind of see that too. We're just staying in this area, waiting for a break, it seems. Amazon curling up. Testing, there's the test. We're getting the test again. See where the wicks come in? We're struggling just a little bit there. Energy sector here. Let's look at the daily scale first. Daily crossing down saying I'm at least in a pullback. Do we see any kind of reversals then? You see a reversal signal for the 2-hour. I don't think you see one on the 30-minute though, right? You see one on the 30-minute. It's kind of wonky there. So that means I want the very clear one or more clear one to confirm. If this 2-hour confirms, then all of this could be a daily pullback and energy ends up going up from here. So look for that 2-hour confirmation. If that 2-hour doesn't confirm, keep heading down, right? 30-minute, 2-hour doesn't confirm, and then you get a daily cross, like all that doesn't happen, well, then you're most likely because you're heading down. But you do have a 2-hour signal in here. That's more the clearer one, not the clearest, but the clearer one. Two-hour getting close. One more good move, and you could see something crazy, but these daily expected moves have shifted down, and you have crossed over on a daily MACD. Rivian? Well, Rivian, I've seen these cars out. I don't mind the car. I think they're kind of cool, but you do have a 30-minute divergence here. It's a great move. It's kind of a spiky divergence, so those can be a little bit weird, right? But the 2-hour divergence is what we would see here and go, oh, that bar, that's a nice bar. That's a very friendly bar because you're not even getting above the 9. And that doesn't happen too often, but you see a positive bar here on the cross up and you go, okay, maybe I take a chance at that boom to the upside. That was the real trade here. Now you're seeing signals that say that 2-hour could rotate down again, right? That 30-minute confirms, then rotation down would make sense. You have a little divergence on the MACD, little divergence on the RSI. So daily scale, did that turn up with that 2-hour? If the daily scale turned up, you could just see a pullback. Okay, daily scale's been turned up. So all of this could remain positive, right? We could go fill a gap, get a higher low. Because the daily's crossed up there. It is in negative territory though, so you gotta take it with a grain of salt. I would just say 30-minute divergence confirms down. Treat it like bad things can happen, but if that 30-minute turns back up, you do have daily momentum with you. Just if that 2-hour crosses, then you might be heading lower. All right, we're getting another test here of our pink line. We go look over here for a brief moment. IWM about 49 minutes, and I'd really pay attention to that next 2-hour bar. Apple will not close below, on 2-hour bars, Apple will not close below the weekly expected move. Tesla hit 250 again. Amazon trying to base out in some way, but kind of flaggy there. You want to see more upward buying for Amazon. And Nvidia getting that reaction. Now we got to see, can that 30-minute turn up? Oh my goodness. Let's look if any news is coming. Let me check my news sources. I like this site. Intel got some news. There you go. Intel got some news. 2-hour divergence on the RSI, not the MACD, but you're kind of consolidating here too. You're getting kind of tighter. Whoa, volatility just saw a spike there in the options, not really, we'll see if it proved here. No, it's not getting a spike, but the options, people are demanding those a little bit more, it seems, more than they have all morning. What else we got? Nothing really there. What is this? What is on with that? That's so fucking weird. People are getting crazy towards this election, man. The stuff people are doing. Oh, there it is. VIX's not spiking with that at all. Now we go look at IWM, see if that rejects in some way. We need more rejection than that. Another rejection pretty much off of our pink line there. And now the options data going even a little bit higher. So the demand for volatility going up a bit and starting to go green here. So that does make sense. 2 hour hasn't crossed. Daily hasn't crossed either. That's going to be a big deal. SPY's crossed, Q's crossed, IWM crossed, Dow Jones crossed. Nvidia and Apple have not, and volatility has not. Let's go check. Nvidia getting close. Apple closer. So Apple is going to try to hold up at a weekly expected move. Might look for call walls later today. In tonight's video, we might look for call walls tomorrow because I think options might funk with things a little bit. Nvidia, are you gonna cross? No. 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 Oof, things are starting to struggle a little bit. Volatility is starting to make a new high here. For the day. For the day. Wow. Okay. All right. What's the percent of people who make money in the market? Lower, right? Lower, but it would be, you know, the best thing to always say to people is day trading is your least percentage way to make money. I know some people out there, you might be good about it. DJT, if it can really manage this next pullback, by the way, gray chalk. Yeah, if you can really manage that and you can curl back up on the daily scale, I think it just goes through a daily pullback right now. That's all it looks like. 30-minute verse for GME. Yeah, I like the 2-hour one better. I mean, well, I guess there isn't technically, right? It doesn't technically have it. I like this because it's going to be able to maybe turn up this. It could be a signal that could turn this up. The reason that I like this is for timing. If you were saying like, hey, this is getting really bottled up, maybe a big move comes, well, this 2-hour crossing up could matter because of how bottled up this is and how good the daily looks. If that daily can cross up, you might see something crazy. Look how you're coming in and getting very tight. So I don't mind it. I like this is making me start to go, okay, I might do the position play for a little bit, not use too much money, call it good. Fun account about to be tapped into, you know what I mean? What do they know as VIX jumps up? Well, I think you're still in a moment where you could see the rebalancing. Notice that TLT is seeing this move and curling up on a 2-hour. So I think if this is the reason we're pulling back, then that's just what it most likely will be, as a pullback. We are seeing those topping out signals, but until those curl down on a weekly, we can't say, oh, this is going to be an extended move for a few months down or something. We just want to notice that TLT is giving a reversal signal. We're seeing the difference between TLT and the SPY get to a maximum right now. So we could see a snap move that really makes people think crash. And then we just see, oh, well, now it's caught back up enough and it based out and we can go up. Doesn't mean it can't crash. It just means, you know, I want to pay attention for reversal signals if this is the only reason that stocks come down. Now, if a bunch of earnings start to say bad things about bad stuff going on, right? Inflation hurting, all this kind of stuff. You know, if there's anything in earnings for us to pay attention to that can add to this, that's more the crash scenario in my mind. If this is going to be the sole reason, then I think it's just big investors going, ooh, I can get a good rate very, very cheap. And so I'm going to go into the bond market because stocks are high. You know what I'm saying? Now, global event could be that, right? But it's in addition to this, Jackal. You know what I'm saying? It's an addition. If it's just this, I think it's just going to be a pullback, and we actually might end up going towards 600 by the end of the year for the SPY. But if it's this plus Israel-Iran, if it's this plus housing market situation, because HGX is saying this is a major top. The housing sector is saying major top, according to the daily signal. Right, that is saying major top. It can always, you know, fake us out, but right now it's still saying this is a major top, and this is most likely to be a lower high on like a 2-hour if this bounces. So you need something else, and I'm glad we can agree on that. I don't think a rebalancing because yields have gone higher and that looks juicy to some people as stocks are at all-time highs. I just don't see that being the major catalyst. I see it being a catalyst to cause some kind of top here that maybe causes people to freak out, but if there's nothing else to make the freaking out justified, then I'm most likely going to be looking for reversal signals in some way for another upward move. That being said, I'm still going to treat this how it needs to be treated. Right now, it needs to be treated like, hey, this can crash, right? We're holding crash signal. We've been bear market behavior for a while now. Right, we've remained up here. And so if this crosses up on the daily, I'm going to treat it like it can crash. But if I see a reversal signal and the only reason is TLT and bonds in some way, then I'll probably be actually looking more so into a reversal than some kind of downfall. So I think you're justified in thinking, though, that something globally could happen on top of that just because of your weekly signals. But you still notice the weekly is where? Well, it's far away from the center line. It is significant, and a lot of the time, once it becomes significant, what do you see? You see a bigger drop. Remember this, back in 2021, bigger drop came once it was significant. Now it's a little bit more significant. But you notice the last time we dropped, we were a little bit lower. So if this wanted to, it still could make another move and then eat this away, right? We could go down like this, eat it into next year, and then see something bad later on when that becomes even more significant. We want to always be open to that. Always be open to that. And you'll see it in the signals. That's the best part. We're going to see it in those signals. What's going to pop up? Well, we're behaving like a bear market. So bear market is known to give you good momentum signals, actually, from my history with trading it. I saw great signals. If not on the SPY, you'll see it on big stocks like Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, all those kind of big stocks. You'll start to see it there. TLT, you'll see some there. Those are actually really good plays. If we go into a bear market, don't sleep on TLT. TLT actually during the bear market was one of my best trades. I was like, I'm a little nervous about this one. Things are kind of crazy. People are talking about rates, and I really think I think they were going to cut rates. And I was like, or people were going to start to talk about them doing it and them giving an assessment. And it was right as they said, I believe they said, we're going to start cutting rates a little bit sooner in 2024. And I went, oh, okay. So this was a good signal. And it was one of my best trade setups. That was before I even had a channel, I think. And then I think they went back on it and it caused an even worse reaction for a little bit. Oh man. Then they were like, oh no, we can't cut rates yet. we might have to extend this to 2025. And then 2024 came and they started cutting rates. Not bad. All right, SPY. Really rejecting here. Qs, really rejecting here. IWM. Starting to reject a little bit harder, and the Dow's falling down a little bit bigger. Dow never got that full reaction to retest 42.7K. You think they pause next meeting? No, I do not. I think that they do 0.25 right now. That's what I think. If we go into a time of the weird part will be if we actually do see a big reaction. You know, I know that I think there was news that the Turkish stock market was doing bad because of an attack from Iran or something like that. But if things really start to scale up to where it's like, oh, this is gonna, mess stuff up, that's more gonna be interesting because it's like, do yields go down? Because we're about to go into wartime and we want to keep our economy still afloat? Or are yields going to go up because the wars will cause inflation? Because you'll have supply chain issues again, because you'll have oil going higher again. So that's what I'd really be interested to see. And by the way, someone asked about oil earlier. I'm sorry I didn't check on that. I think we should go look at that. Because oil's kind of saying 2-hour divergence, right? 2-hour divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So oil's actually saying we're going to go down. That's what it's saying. It's saying this daily is going to keep pointing down. Or at least a 4-hour is going to curl down. I forgot this is I'm looking at futures kind of here. But the 4-hour is going to turn down here. That's what it's saying right now. So if that happens, ooh, that could mean oil's going down, meaning global stuff most likely ain't happening. If you notice times to pay attention, right, when we're going to get news of Israel, Iran, more when we see oil spike and then you get the news and then that starts to head the other direction. Pause would be a very bad sign, but I think they've already made the mistake and they can't go back on it. That's my assessment. I really think they've already made the mistake and they can't go back on it. They were satisfied, guys. They do not want what is good for you. Okay? That is what cutting the rates at this point means. They do not want what's good for you. If they were smart, which I do believe they're smarter than me. I'm not saying I'm smarter than them. I'm not saying I'm intelligent in any way. I look at lines on a computer all day. But I can read into things and say, well, if they really wanted to help people out, putting us into a controlled recession that they can kind of control a little bit would have been a better way to go, right? It would have been better, because whenever you cut the rates, you start to risk more of a crash type scenario. Whereas if you kind of forced a recession, aka you keep rates higher to not only bring inflation to 2%, but cause it to go negative, that way products start to become cheaper, then that would make more sense to me. That is actually maybe a way to do something good for the people. But at this point, I think they cut rates, and now you're going to see, oh, well, we have a hurricane that's going to cause inflation. We have wars that can cause inflation. We have policies still in place from this administration that can cause inflation. And now, even when Trump comes in, if he's trying to stimulate by making a bunch of manufacturing, he might cause inflation too, because building a bunch is going to take a bunch of money, and that's more government spending. And right now, government spending accounts for 42% of the inflation problem, at least when it comes to food. So all of that together just goes, okay, then if the government stopped spending, then or didn't spend all that with, and they're mainly talking about wasteful spending, but if that didn't happen, then 42% of the inflation wouldn't even be here. Yes, but if you follow your principle in the short term, how do they save their job? Exactly, and that's the point. They save their job by doing what is best for the people that employ them. Do we elect the Federal Reserve? You guys want to answer a question? Do we, the people, elect the Federal Reserve? Quick answer, no. No, we do not. Now that makes you, it causes you to ask the question, so who does put the people in charge of the Federal Reserve? Do you think it is poor people or rich people? It's rich, powerful people do. And that's why he wants to keep his job, right? And that's why he's doing what is best for rich people. That's what at least, you know, what he has done. I don't know if it's on purpose, right? I hope that, you know, I don't think Jerome Powell, at the end of the day, I don't think he's like a scumbag or anything like that. I hope. Just the decisions he's made, there's incentive for him to cause kind of this stock market boom, right? To say soft landing over and over and over again. So did he help out poor people or rich people more? And you would just look at the stock market and say, okay, well, whatever he did, we're still up in these areas, meaning inflation is still causing things to get more inflated, profits to get more inflated, earnings still look fantastic. People talked about that a few days ago. And the more so, you're just going, is this beneficial right now for rich people or poor people? This is very, very, very beneficial for rich people. It is currently, right now, it is the cheapest time in history to be rich. It is the most expensive time in history to be poor or to be middle class and below. Yeah, and some people just, you know, I think that was a good point someone brought up yesterday about Elon, really just stating how it would distract him from a lot of the other things he's doing, and people kind of worry about that from the investment perspective. I don't think that's a bad take. We're still kind of holding in this area, by the way. Clove. Let's see here. That's divergence there. I want to see if a weekly is turning down. What'd you say, from August to October? Is this August? Yeah, August, October. The best part here is this crossover. I think you knew it was coming. Right, momentum gave you a little hint here. I think there's a 2 hour in here. At least it looks like it. Yeah, there is. There's a solid little 2 hour divergence right here. Sorry. Now you're at the key level. You could experience a bounce here. Look at the structure to head lower, right? Something like that. I didn't take Nvidia puts just yet. I'm actually trying to be a little reserved with this. just because the 30-minute looks like it could make one more move. I kind of sold out of that position, and I'm just waiting to see what happens. And then I still have another position with volatility. So I'm kind of treating this like, okay, I'm going to treat that like a win, but Nvidia can do crazy stuff. And then I'm keeping my volatility position. So I'm kind of mitigating my risk by getting out of one position, pretty much taking profit on it. That way I can just hold on to this and say, hey, if something crazy happens, volatility is going to be the good play. And then if things go the other way, I can reallocate money towards maybe a call play if I see something. Sold it too, broke even. Case of a crazy move. Now you just see, you know, does the daily cross down? I'd be looking tomorrow. I think it might have one more push, but you know, volatility is saying something a little different. That's why I just kept my volatility play and took profit on another. I don't think I had a huge gain for Nvidia because I had the longer out expiration. Hedge Nvidia puts by just saying, hey, AMD is going to go lower. We all know that's no. Yeah, and you would say they are appointed by the president, right? That's why Jerome Powell and Trump kind of butt heads back in the day. But I think you would say for right now, it seems that the policies in place right now are all beneficial for, well, I guess not X in probabilities would be not X, right? X would be the average American citizen. Not X would be what this market is good for, what these policies are good for. Anything that is not the average American citizen. Hedge your Nvidia puts with AMD puts. That's pretty funny. We're still pretty controlled though. I think we have a shot because we're still pretty controlled. Apple's at a weekly expected move, pretty much testing it again right now. SPY starting to break through the zone. That's not a good sign, actually. But maybe we fill this gap and see a reaction. Let's see. Volatility going a bit nuts. So for volatility, I'm going to keep this up. I just want to show it just to see, right? That daily curls up. We have a little different story here. We've already seen daily cross downs, guys. Daily momentum is saying down right now. You just got to see, manage risk, all that good stuff. All right, guys, it is 10:06 for me over here in the Midwest. But I do have to hop off. Today, I'm really going to be paying attention. I might hop on later on today. I think I do have some time. I'll try to hop on live later today, so make sure those notifications are on. But thank you guys for subscribing today. Really do appreciate it. Short Fridays, thank you for the little $5 donation. I'll go get myself some coffee, maybe a sub or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a lot of fun. We found some good little signals here. We have topping signals that are still here. We're just waiting for a few more to confirm, and then we can see a downside move, which I am still leaning towards. I want to be clear, a pullback now, because I believe the balancing thing might need to be considered, right? We need that rebalancing could take place. If that's the only reason, I think it will be a pullback. So thank you guys for watching today. Have a great day. Good luck with your trades, and congratulations to you crazy people trading Tesla before earnings. You guys are psychos, and I love it. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.